Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a process video for you today. I am going to be working on day 2 of Paradox, Truths in Contrast from Bythewell4god. I have this little journal that I'm working in this month, and I have kept it so that the pages can be pulled out. I do have a setup video for this. I will link down below if you're interested. But I just pulled out the pages I'm going to be working on today because I want to be working with some messier products today, and so it's just easier if I'm not actually trying to do that inside the journal. So I'm starting out with some mint tape here just to kind of block off that second page because I'm not going to be doing anything over there. And you could use washi tape or sticky notes or whatever. And then I'm pulling some Distress Oxide colors in tumbled glass, and I start out with weathered wood as well. I did spray this paper with some water in hopes that it would help this distress ink do what I wanted it to do, which was really kind of just smush really well. It just really soaked in. It was very thirsty paper. So it really kind of just left more harsh lines than I had intended, I guess. And so I will kind of address that in a little bit. But first I'm going to add, I want kind of a stormy sky situation happening. So I pulled in this weathered wood gray, and I thought maybe if I added it with a paintbrush, it wouldn't be quite so splotchy. As you can see up in that top corner, that did not work at all. It just really absorbed it very quickly in there, and I couldn't move it as much as like if you were working with a mixed media paper or something like that. So I decided right there I was not going to add any more of that color. It was just too dark for what I wanted, and it was just, I knew it was going to overpower the tumbled glass just far more than I wanted it to. So I pulled out some Lost Shadow instead. It's a much lighter gray, and I'm just kind of cleaning up my packaging there, smushing the Lost Shadow down on that packaging. I'm actually adding just a little bit of the tumbled glass on the packaging as well. I will spray both of those, and I'm going to let those colors just kind of blend a little bit together before I smush them down. I wasn't looking to like create a new color, but I just wanted it to be really watery. So then I'm going through and trying to get the color really where I want it on this page. I'm not necessarily concerned that all of the white gets covered, but I do want most of it to get covered. So I came back in with another layer of that Lost Shadow and just kind of some little speckles, some finer dots. This is really just the leftover pieces after I had dried that. And then I'm going to come back in with a blending brush and that Distress Oxide in tumbled glass again. And this is just kind of soften everything. I like to do this when I have done even stenciling. It just kind of helps everything really kind of get pushed into the background. And that top corner in the left is still, very overwhelmingly dark, but the whole page really looks like a hot mess right at the moment. And that's okay. We'll get through it. But I'm just adding that tumbled glass. And again, I did leave some areas white. I wasn't interested in creating a solid blue background, or I would have done that completely different. But anyway, I'm pulling out this snowflake stencil. This actually released last month, and I think has sold out a couple of times. This was a very popular stencil, and I have some texture paste from the Crafters Workshop here. This is the light and fluffy modeling paste actually, and I'm using it. I'm applying it pretty thick coat. I'm also kind of tapping it. I really want a lot of texture in these snowflakes, but the stencil is not wide enough to cover the whole entire area. So I'm now going to move my stencil over to the right side and continue on. I'm going to be very careful though. I'm trying to not get those areas where that line of the stencil, like the edge of the image is. I want it to kind of blend all the way off. Now in hindsight, like doing this, if you let it dry and then come back in and do this part, it's much easier than trying to kind of work around the already wet texture paste or modeling paste that's already down. But I like to live on the edge, I guess. So I just go for it. But you could certainly let one side dry and then go in on the other side if you chose to do that. And then I'm coming in with some embossing powder. This is not the Distress embossing glazes. This is an actual embossing powder, so it is opaque. So I'm being very careful about applying just a very thin coat of it. In fact, you can hardly see it on there. And I'm just sprinkling it with my fingers. I didn't want a huge covering. I just wanted little pops of colors on the snowflakes. And so then I decided I really wanted like a little snowy snow mountain kind of scene down here at the bottom. So I come back in with even more texture paste and applied this a pretty good layer of this as well, and just created a little bit of like a snowdrift down here at the bottom. And I'm going to pull in a product that I have had in my stash forever, and I have it in multiple colors, but these are glass beads. These are in the color copper. I'm not sure if you can get these anymore. Like I said, I've just had them for years and years, and I use them, but I used a little of them that they just have lasted just forever. And I'm just very gently kind of tapping them down into the texture paste. I obviously don't want to mess up the stenciling, but I want to make sure that they're going to stay. So this is now the next day. I left this to dry overnight because I had quite a bit of texture paste on there. And I tapped off the excess embossing powder, and now I'm just heating that up with my heat gun. You can see the little beads aren't going anywhere. They're very securely in the texture paste, but I did need to melt the embossing powder, and I realize it's very difficult to see on camera, but it just added a little bit of dimension and kind of sparkle to the little snowflakes. So you can see this is kind of the inspiration for that background page in the color palette, and having kind of that gold coppery color back there. So I'm going to add these pages now back into my journal. There's no reason to leave them out anymore because I'm done with kind of the messy part of this page. I was just trying to kind of mimic those snowflakes over there on the left. I have this journaling card that I have, I have a scripture written on the back of it, obviously. And so I'm going to create a little tip-in with it because it's not going to work over that texture paste. I didn't want to create another pocket for that. But I am going to create a pocket using one of the journaling cards over here on the right. And it's really going to house all of my extra notes. So all of my flashcards and my extra notes are going to go in here. And so I wanted to make sure that those little flashcards would not, fall down back behind there where I couldn't get them. So I just drew a line of glue across, and that will just prevent everything from falling down. Just don't stick your flashcards and things back down into there until you're sure your glue is dry, or you will not get them back out. So anyway, I just have a couple flashcards. I have one of the little index cards that matched the kit, and all my notes are just going to be tucked in there. And then for this journaling card, I'm going to create a little tip-in with some sticker paper. So this is actually leftovers from a page that I had printed or something. And I save these because it's a good way to fix things or to create tip-ins or whatever. You can see how very warped my page is. It held the texture paste okay, but it did get a little wonky, which it will flatten out over time. I'm not worried about it, but it did present a little bit of a struggle getting this tape to stick down. So I did add some to the outside, and then I'm going to add some to the inside as well. I do this even when I create a washi tape tip in, just because I don't want the exposed stickiness. So I always do it on both sides, just personal preference. Some people leave it. I just like both. So then I'm moving on to my title for this day. So I'm using the title starters, and it's some old packaging here so that I can make this sticker stand up off of the background. And so I'm just going to glue this down. In hindsight, I wish I had used some foam tape for this. It would have made it easier because, again, I'm gluing right over all of that texture paste. So it was a little tricky to get this to stay down. In fact, I even put a little clip on there. And then I'm going to use a little ephemera piece. This is a beautiful snow globe, just to hold my journaling card down. You could leave it and it would be, flapping it would be fine, but I just thought this would make a fun little interactive element as well. I did use foam tape on this one though, and just made the whole process easier. So I just put the little foam tape on the one side, and I'm also covering up where I kind of had a little too many of those little micro beads just kind of dumped out of the jar. So kind of fixing that little oops as well. And here I was trying to pull that back up so I could add some foam tape, and I realized quickly that that was not going to work. So it's just going to have to stay like it is. And then I'm just going to have all of my little notes tucked into that pocket. And that is it for me for today. So if you liked this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you haven't seen, I have recently started a Facebook group. It is called Chosen and Crafting. I'd love for you to join me over there. I will put the link down below if you're interested. And until next time, bye.